Knowingly or unknowingly, it is our values that dictate everything in our lives. Every choice, every decision, and every judgment. So it becomes crucial to understand how we can discover what we truly value. Since it is such an important aspect of our lives, I plan to divide this into 4 parts. In part 1, I dig deeper into what values really are. Trust me, this is going to open your eyes. In part 2, I talk about why it is so hard for us to discover what we truly value, which sets the base for part 3 and 4, where I take you step by step into how we can actually discover what we really value. This knowledge is priceless. Values are not our interests or desires or wants. The concept of value is much deeper than that. Since the term value has 2 meanings, it is important to clarify that I'm not referring to the worth of something in economic terms. Say for example, this book is worth $50. That's not what I mean by value. Values in this context are the high-level, abstract, desirable end state that we strive for or aim to uphold, like creativity, self-esteem, security, freedom, and so on. Simply put, values are the ideas and convictions that matter to us. But often we are not consciously aware of what we value. We do have a vague idea, but if not much effort has been put in understanding what we really value, then these values remain unclear and ambiguous. Values remain hidden under many layers of thoughts, but it is our values that are driving all our actions and decisions. So if there is one thing that can give clarity, creativity, and confidence in our lives and ultimately lead to meaning, inspiration, and happiness, then it is a clear understanding of our core values. There are 9 points to understand what values really are. Point number 1 is that values are our guide to action. Our values are the motivating power that guides our goals and activities. They nudge us towards a preferable way to live, be, or act. But it is extremely important to understand that our values are not our goals and activities, but the motivating power behind them. For example, one travels frequently because that is the activity that one enjoys and relishes. But what is the motivating power behind that? There could be many layers to this until one reaches the main reason, the main idea of why one travels. One may like to travel maybe because the person likes to experience new things. This could be because the person likes excitement or novelty or challenges or adventure. So the underlying value that is driving the person could be stimulation or inspiration. Those are the ideas that the person upholds most dearly. So it is the idea of achieving stimulation that is driving the person to travel. Travel just is a medium and an activity that is helping the person achieve and experience the value. Now another person might like to travel as well, but his reason to travel might totally be different. Maybe he likes to travel because he wants to show others that his life is full of adventure, or that he can afford expensive holidays, or maybe it is considered cool by his community. So the reason why he wants to travel is because of status or power. Those are the main ideas, the main values driving his action. This is how values guide our actions. Now, second point to note is that values are personal. Any activity or anything is of value or not of value in relation to the individual. In this case, the act of traveling helps a person achieve the value of stimulation or power depending on the personal needs and values of the individual. Point number 3 is that values are our standards of judgment. So another related feature, if we were to look at the same point from a different perspective, is that values are our standards of evaluation, standards of judgment of good or bad, like or dislike, favorable or unfavorable, success or failure. One individual travels because he likes stimulation and adventure, while the other travels because he likes power and status. Who do you think is correct? The answer lies in your own values. You would judge a person whether he is good or bad, right or wrong, depending on your own value judgments. Say for example, if you value stimulation and adventure, then you would like the person who takes up the activity of travel for its adventure and would kind of dislike the person who takes up the activity to showcase power. This may not be in conscious awareness, but this is what is driving all your judgments. Similarly, we judge success or failure on the basis of our own values. For example, if you are someone who values security, wealth, and power, and you see someone else spending his whole life developing his creative talent and not really concentrating on wealth creation, you would consider that to be a failure. And it works the other way around as well. Say for example, if a person enjoys creativity and he sees someone wasting his talents for prestige and security, he would consider that to be a failure. We find things good or bad, right or wrong, successful or not, depending on our own values. Point number 4 is that values are trans-situational. Values are not limited to just one situation, but instead they are present across situations. Let me explain this using an example again. For example, if one values wealth and power, then these are the values that are driving all the decisions and all the activities of that person. From the place one travels, to the job one takes, to the house one buys, the car one drives, the person one marries, the city one stays, the kind of movies one watches, the people one is jealous of, or the people one admires. It is your values that are controlling and driving everything in your life. Point number 5 is that we don't have just one value, but instead many values. One of the common cited studies on human values has been done by Shalom H. Schwartz. He divided the human values into 4 broad categories. Value of self-enhancement, which includes achievement, success, pleasure, power, and so on. Value of openness to change, which includes independence, creativity, novelty, challenges, stimulation. Value of conservation, which includes conformity, tradition, security. And value of self-transcendence, which includes benevolence, care, tolerance, humility, concern. Extensive cross-cultural research has been done on these values, so it is safe to assume that these values would be applicable to most of us. We are bound to have a combination of many values, like you may value self-esteem, creativity, power, security, benevolence, and many more, and it is the combination of these values that is driving all our goals and all our actions. Point number 6 is that values are linked to emotions. What do we gain from achieving these values? In one word, meaning. Values provide meaning in our life. It makes us feel good. So values activate emotions. If we achieve our values, it gives us happiness, meaning, and inspiration. If we don't, then we experience negative emotions. Point number 7 is that values are hierarchical. While values activate emotions, these emotions vary in their intensities. Not all values have the same emotional response. For example, achievement in career may bring joy to a person, but intimacy in a relationship might bring even more joy in comparison. So values have a hierarchical structure, and there is a regular process of trade-offs among these values. Like one may value tolerance, creativity, power, and security, but the relative importance of each may vary. While tolerance and creativity are ideas that one supports, but the ideas of power and wealth and security might just be more important. It is the combined sum based on the weightage of importance of values that will guide one's actions and goals. Hence, a complete picture of our value structure gives more clarity and helps us lead a more coherent and orderly life. In case we have conflicting values, then there are only 2 possible outcomes. One, leave the conflict unresolved and experience prolonged suffering. The other, resolve the conflict rationally to experience happiness and peace. For example, a classic case is to follow one's value to raise the family and devote time to the development of children or family bonds, with the trade-off of another value like success at work. If the relative importance of these conflicting values are not clearly understood and defined properly, then it can only lead to suffering. As of now, what is important to understand is that we have a hierarchical value structure, and it is the weighted sum of all the values that are driving our actions and goals. Point number 8 is that values are not constant but dynamic. Values keep changing at various stages of our life depending on the circumstances that life throws at us and the level of development of our mind. We keep acquiring new information with every experience of our life, and that impacts the quality of our mind. So values are not engraved in stone, but instead are constantly evolving. Point number 9 is that more often than not, we are unaware of our entire value structure. Values are latent. We may or may not be in conscious awareness of all our values. We're not born knowing what to do. We're not born knowing what is good or bad or right or wrong for us. From childhood to every moment of our life, we are confronted with choices. But there is no inborn mechanism that dictates these choices. So if we are not born with any value structure, then how can we discover our values? That is a question of immense importance and inquiry. Stay tuned for the coming episodes.